This is a story about remote road safety. Who would have thought something so small could have such a huge impact? Many of us don't think about where we would be without a driver's license, and maybe we don't realise how important it was to be taught about road safety when we learn to drive. In the remote areas of Australia, not having a driver's license can affect every aspect of a person's life, and a lack of road safety education among Indigenous people can be disastrous. Take Nathan, for example. He is unemployed, not because he wants to be, but because having a driver's license is a necessity for most jobs in his community. Rita makes a living by producing and selling art. She needs to drive out bush to gather art materials. But Rita doesn't have a license and she's never been taught how to drive safely and correctly. Nathan tried to get a license, but it got too hard, so he drives without a license. He gets caught by the police several times over the years and eventually finds himself in jail. Rita also decides she has no choice but to drive unlicensed to gather materials and make a living. She loses control of the vehicle and has a crash, putting not just her own life in danger, but the lives of others too. Nathan's jail time goes on to his permanent record. Finding a job used to be difficult, now it's almost impossible. And Rita has no way to gather materials for her art and make a living. Sadly, stories like these are more common than we think. 50% of all road deaths in the Northern Territory are Indigenous people, yet they make up 30% of the population. 25% of the prison population in the Northern Territory is made up of minor driving offenders. 97% of these people are Indigenous. The situation would be very different if more Indigenous people could get a driver's licence and learn to drive safely and correctly. But for thousands of Indigenous people living in remote communities of the Northern Territory, getting a driver's licence seems almost impossible. Motor vehicle registry offices or remote police stations, the places to get a licence, are far away and often inaccessible, and sometimes people don't feel comfortable going to the local police station. Several different forms of ID are required before taking the test, but many Indigenous people don't have safe places to store identification, or their documents are inaccurate as they've changed their names for cultural reasons. Licence application forms need to be completed, but in many Indigenous communities, literacy levels are low. On top of this, the forms and the tests are in English and don't cater for Indigenous languages, thereby creating a language barrier. Even if someone does manage to get a learner's licence, they don't have access to qualified driving instructors. Very often, a community member who teaches another person to drive is just passing on dangerous and unsafe driving habits. DriveSafe NT Remote is the Indigenous driver education and licensing program that aims to address these issues. The program works because it's accessible, it's free, and it's tailored to meet the needs of each community and the people who live in them. People like Nathan and Rita are guided through the process of getting a driver's licence from start to finish. This involves getting the necessary identification documents in order, having an eye exam, learning about road rules and safety, taking a verbal test. If passed, they receive a learner's licence. Then they take driving lessons with an instructor over the 6-month learner licence period. This is followed by a further road safety class. Then they do a practical driving test, and if they pass, they receive their provisional driver's licence. Nathan now has a much greater chance of finding a job and can drive safely to and from work every day. And Rita can continue to make and sell her art. And they're not the only ones who have benefited from the program. So far, the DriveSafe NT Remote program has been delivered in 14 communities. Between April 2012 and June 2013, more than 700 licences were delivered. The program more than doubled its original target within just 13 months. The Northern Territory Government has committed to continuing the program and aims for it to be operating in all major Northern Territory communities by 2016. Ultimately, it's not just about road safety and having a driver's licence. It's about pride, empowerment, economic participation, job creation and freedom. It's about transforming communities and changing lives. It's about closing the gap on Indigenous disadvantage. To many of us, a driver's licence is a simple thing, but this one simple thing can have a huge impact.